Lives, and more lives. I actually wanted to do on Joe Biden. I was going to do that live, and his extreme love of socialism, what he's done. Maybe I'll shoot for that later. There's only so much you can do in a day, and you get the following to fall off. But a lot of people messaging on my posts and personal messenger on Keean, Bexte, and it's all about counter signal and his article that's relevant absolutely today, and it overlaps my video yesterday, folks. Ezra Levant is right-leaner in the Crown and not going after Keean. His story, which is credible, folks, very credible on the work he's done on that research. Yes, those facilities are planned, and yes, in the name of climate change, they're planned, and more than that, in the name of the Inuit, they're planned. But what is the real reality? Well, I can tell you, it started in 2012, Keean. 2012 under one Stephen Harper. If you let go of the delusion of right and left for a moment, you pretend, which is pretty much reality and factual, it all makes sense, that for a second, all the political parties in Canada have one common goal, and it's constitutionally bound in our highest laws of the land, and that is the sovereignty that we should possess, we hand over immediately upon Confederation to the United Kingdom, which was the British Empire of the time, during the Age of Empires, during absolute colonialism. Now, let's just look at all the political parties like that, like the rest of the world sees us as, and let's take for a moment Nato and these planned facilities drafted and designed since Stephen Harper, cemented in 2012. And if you'd like, I can show you all the records of these plans signed off by Stephen Harper. Now, incorporated and invested in by the Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau's going full tilt under the cover of climate change and absolute Inuit reconciliation. But that's all a lie. It's all a lie. It's actually a front for now the new stand as per European Union allies of Nato, the United Kingdom, who holds our sovereignty, who dictates to Canada how they will operate internationally. Now, they can call it climate change so that none of the regions will make a fuss or a stink about it, just in case. They can call it Inuit reconciliation just so none of the regions make a stink about it, because that's what we're talking about here. These facilities are a front for the new stance against Russia. It's been planned for a very long time. What happened today and what's happening in NATO is a tour of these sites planned for these military facilities in the name of a global climate change police for an Inuit reconciliation. What would these plans really involve in any of that? The reality is it isn't. It's a front. It's for Russia. It's the planned military buildup of all NATO allies against Russia. Not only Russia, but pending China and India. It's a war of crown colonials, preparatory war since 2012. It's been on the books that long. Now they're going further phase. They had hoped that Russia was going to go on board with it. Russia said no. Now they're hoping China will. I don't see that. Not in a global narrative. I think that this build-up is crown European unitaries Democrats of the USA fully on board, clearly with Joe Biden and a lot of his radical left-leaners, would love nothing more than to cement the crown, a superior class system. First, second, third, which is Canada forever and a day, as well as all other Commonwealth countries. It is the staple and basis of international directive as per the royal family. Stephen Harper signed off. Keean, he signed off in 2012. Privy Council, behind the backs of all Canadians. It's one of the 7 kept secret from the Canadian people, absolute customary decisions made behind closed doors in absence of all democracy. He did that, just like he signed on for China. Why China owns all of our mineral resource mining companies. Almost all of them. Almost all of them. Manitoba, Ontario, all through the north into BC, northern BC. They own pretty much 86%. They own 92% of Australia's, and this is consistent throughout the entire Commonwealth. But like I said, Harper did seven behind Canadian back, undemocratic, absolute authoritarian decisions. One was cementing the Chinese Beijing Communist Party in all kinds of trade and supply and value chains over Canada, over Canadians. Harper did that. Now, Trudeau's done 11 in a shorter period of time. Now, Harper did that in 8 years, 7 of them. They're detrimental, they're brutal. This is where the design comes from, a NATO decision by unitary states. Unitary states. USA has not obliged any of it. None whatsoever. But they don't really have to anyway, because they're a UNSCP 5 power. As is Russia, as is China, as is UK, as is France. The difference being those NATO members who are not P5 members are going to be subject to those supply and value chain disruptions should they pursue this. What is being targeted is basically the yellow world, the yellow race, beginning with China, the Southeast brown Asian race, beginning with India, and absolutely Russia, and all of its African counterparts, which there are many. Africa's not down. So it's basically a superior first-class white race with some colonial lovers from some of the Commonwealth. And yes, you'll see all kinds of colors there, but they're the divine first class. And they are making these decisions behind all Canadians' backs. Again, these facilities are named in climate change, Keean. They're named in Inuit reconciliation. But as you point out with the plans, and I've looked at this too, right now today, Trudeau and Stoltenberg from NATO, the German who's running NATO, who's sitting in the executive chair, are touring the sites of these proposed installations. It is absolutely a front for our new stance against Russia. Russia, think about it. Yes, they're going to say in the name of climate change. Yes, they're going to say in the name of Inuit reconciliation. But who are you going to be arresting? Who are you going to be putting in these facilities? Who are you arming for the northern territories and northern half of the provinces? Angry Treaty Indians? No, I don't think so. They transplanted Inuits in key locations to challenge for sovereignty over the Arctic against Russia. USA won't step in. It's something Canada has to do to hold its own borders. They used the Inuit people, transplanting them, putting them in poverty, often without food and water, for a long, long time. This is colonialism. If you leave the idea of left and right. The pure journalism will find you. It found me. I stay on the world stage. I listen to all of those with the power, with the back room, which is the United Nations Security Council. You can read all their reports. It is a lot of work. It takes a lot of years of going back. It will take countless hours, but you will find the truth in all those reports, at least the published ones. And that's only maybe one-tenth of what's actually been done. But you can see what's been done in what's called penmanship. It shows you every now and then they leak out, and you can infer from how they're talking and how they're corresponding when they do hold penmanship and they do talk about things. You start to learn what you've missed. You get good at it. But folks, that's the reality. Keean's work is credible and it's real, but it's not on really climate change or on the Inuit. And it's absolutely only for NATO and only in the face of Russia. It's to go against Russia. Canada can't publicly state that. The Privy Council can't say that. But they've been working at this since 2012 and absolutely under the UK's discretion. That's what's been going on here. And if you don't believe it, go back in time, watch Stephen Harper flip-flop against popular belief of Canadian citizens. When Canadians said, no, don't do this, he used Privy Council and did it anyway. There's your democracy. Now, again, Trudeau's been advancing much faster than Harper. And, of course, that's with NDP. Harper had to use bloc, and that didn't work. So then he started doing Privy Council customary law using Crown absolute power, pure authoritarianism. And he did it. He did it. Cemented communism, cemented these climate action plans, these facilities, and Trudeau's just going after and following up with what Harper started. There is no real conservative liberal. There's only the liberal conservative, upper, lower Canada. So if you're out west and you're wondering what the hell is going on, that's what's going on. It's been going on absolutely since we signed off with the royal family. And if you ever want to know about the Commonwealth Charter, go look at the CEO of the Commonwealth. Guess who that is? Boris Johnson. Yes, he's resigned from UK, but he's still senior in charge under Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth in international control of all the Commonwealth countries. If Trudeau wants to keep his proverbial crown, his federal crown, and not be put in the limelight for USA, Russia, and other countries that wouldn't tolerate it, not since decolonization, they allow this to go on. We, the people, don't do anything about it anyway. Canadians seem to not mind being ruled in autocracy, so we let it go. Clearly, what would these facilities be for? Because they're not for climate change up north, and they're definitely not for the benefit of Inuit. Explain how they would be. They're not. They're not for detention centers for Canadians. They are for absolutely NATO aggression against Russia, especially in the Arctic. That's a fact. Go look at it. That's my video, folks. Share. That's the blanks. That's the truth. It's not just a liberal agenda. It's the crown agenda of Canada in the Commonwealth forever and a day since 2012. Started by Stephen Harper, being finished by one Justin Trudeau, who's the worst of the worst. It's just which version of the crown is worse. They're all autocrats. Pick your best dictator. Pick your best illusion of democracy. Illusion of democracy. Thanks, that's my video. Share because it's real. Share because it's credible. And it's the right thing to do. Bye now.